Alright, everyone, welcome back. I am going to do a quick, news roundup of the midterms and, big news from today. If, I want to hear your comments in the comment section. Go ahead and, subscribe if you want to see my future videos. I like to do, a lot of videos on current events and information like that. So without further ado, I'll go right into the midterms, and it was a pretty contentious election this year. My personal prediction was that it was going to be a big turnout for the Republican vote. I thought they were going to, gain houses in the Senate and the House, retain both of them. And that's not quite what happened. They gained a couple seats in the Senate, which is really important. They did, however, lose the House majority. Pretty much the predictions of the mainstream media was that there was going to be a blue wave. It was going to, flip both houses blue. You had Nancy Pelosi being on, talk shows being like, it's in the bag. They're like, please don't say that. And she's like, no, we got it. And it was kind of funny, but yeah, so they expected to win both. It was kind of a tie in a way. But I actually think that it is in favor of the Republicans at this point, with the Democrats taking the House majority. Nancy Pelosi is going to end up the Speaker of the House, which is going to be a sight to behold. There's going to be a lot of obstruction. They're going to be opening as many investigations as they can to try to impeach Donald Trump. However, any impeachments have to be approved by the Senate, and with a Republican majority in the Senate, this is just going to all end up as political theater. There's going to be a lot of gridlock. There's going to be no legislation coming from the House. On that end, it's going to be a real impediment to Donald Trump's agenda going forward as far as, the wall is concerned, unless something happens. One interesting point with the Senate is that the Republicans are going to be able to appoint more judges, more federal judges. It's going to be a lot easier for them to appoint Supreme Court justices. I would keep an eye on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I've been predicting for a while that she's going to be leaving the Supreme Court, and that they're going to get another conservative judge on the bench. So that'll be another really fun event to suffer through, but we'll at least be able to sweat a little less knowing that it's not going to be quite as close as the Kavanaugh confirmations, because that was very stressful to watch. They're going to be able to appoint more cabinet members, easier. Just overall, the Senate is going to give them a lot more power as far as appointments are concerned, which is probably a good thing. However, I think it's important to talk about why there was no red tsunami. We didn't retain the House. The Republican vote didn't come out quite as much as we predicted. Honestly, I thought the Democrats had done themselves such a disservice. I don't understand how anyone could be voting for them at this point. Just how they're behaving is so unbecoming. Their complete disregard for the rules of the Senate. Dianne Feinstein's behavior during the confirmation hearings, Maxine Waters, they're calling for violence, and you know what, I guess these tactics ended up working a lot more than I gave them credit for. The insulting is working in a way, and it's going to be a real uphill battle to get these people who respond to this kind of rhetoric. I'm not sure if it's going to be a matter of pointing out the hypocrisy of trying, to bring them to reason, but it's going to be interesting time in history, because you have an organization like Antifa who is shutting down people for speaking their mind. They're very, it seems the left has become so anti-free speech and free expression. And it seems that the Democrat voter base is responding to it. They seem to be so against Donald Trump that anything goes. And so I guess if you have any ideas on how we should go with this going forward, let me know. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. So moving on, I guess I'll bring up QAnon at this point in regards to the House, because one of the QAnon drops says that FISA brings down the House. And in a lot of these, there's multiple meanings to these phrases. At face value, the House could mean the House of Cards. You just pull one card out and it all comes tumbling down. But on the other hand, FISA declassification could reveal indictments for congressional Democrats in the House. And what happens is when these people are not able to serve their position anymore because they've been indicted and they're in jail or whatever, the Senate is going to appoint the replacement. And in which case, there will be more Republicans. If and I'm not to say that only Democrats are going to be indicted. It's going to be Democrats and Republicans. However, with the Republican Senate, they're going to appoint more Republicans. I think it's pretty plain as day that the Democrat Party is just corrupt to the bone. And I'm sure there are some good Democrats. I just feel like the party would have flushed them out at this point. That's my own point of view. I would love to be proved wrong on that. I really would. So yeah, that's one thing that could happen. We're still waiting for the FISA declassification. I feel like this is a card that's being held in the back pocket for a rainy day. So anyways, moving on to Jim Acosta today had a little spat with the president. It was really, I don't know, it was kind of like a middle schooler just kind of trying to shout over the teacher, and it was really sad to a point. And the president ended up grilling him, just saying, "You're a terrible person, you should feel bad." And I personally can't disagree. I can't disagree because he's interrupting, he's not respecting the time of his fellow reporters, and he ended up having his press credentials revoked for the White House. He's no longer allowed in the White House for his bad behavior, which I believe is a good thing. I think it's going to be a challenge for Donald Trump going forward to find a way to diffuse these situations with these reporters that just want to ask leading questions, that they're essentially activist reporters. They aren't interested in the truth or interested in getting the president's message out. They are trying to impose their own message onto the president. And so he's going to have to find a way to diffuse this without being so combative with him. And I mean, he wasn't he didn't lose his cool or anything. You want to come get? Sorry. He didn't lose his cool, and he didn't curse or anything. He didn't get loud. He just said the truth, and sometimes the truth isn't very nice. And I think this is one of those cases where the truth just isn't nice, but he's going to have to find a way to either just stay silent, answer their questions very plainly. I don't know, but it's this is going to be one of those instances where people oh look, he flew off the handlebars and he's against a free press, which is not the case. He's just trying to keep order in the White House. You can't have people just disrespecting the process like that, and it was very sad to see Jim Acosta lying as well after having his credentials revoked. He was on his program on CNN saying that he didn't put his hands on that woman. They were accusing him of assault. Some people were, and he said he didn't do that. And you can see the video where he, she comes to take the mic and he goes, and I mean, you did put your hands on her intentionally or otherwise. I don't know. Only you know that, Jim Acosta. So, lastly, we'll go to Jeff Sessions, because Jeff Sessions has resigned. Silly kitty. Either voluntarily or otherwise. I've been told that in the letter from the president, he was told that he could either resign or be fired, so he chose to resign. Either way, this is kind of a big deal. They're appointing another attorney general, and they're trying to say that he needs to recuse himself from the Russia investigation, just like Jeff Sessions had. Let's really hope he doesn't, because Donald Trump needs someone in the Attorney General's office that can back him up on this. He's, given Mueller so much free reign for this Russia hoax investigation that there's been no evidence to show any kind of collusion or election tampering. The most they have is that some people that live in Russia, apparently, bought some Facebook ads that were pro-Hillary Clinton, maybe pro-Trump, after the election. That's what they have. And so Donald Trump needs somebody that can come in and at least be able to, speak on it. However, I think Jeff Sessions stepping down is going to leave room for him to be an actor in other ways. We do have these, I think it's up to 65,000 sealed indictments that are laying around just waiting to be revealed. Jeff Sessions has been working with John Huber out of Utah with a team of 400 some lawyers to investigate things and to create these sealed indictments. You have to impanel a secret grand jury to file a sealed indictment. And so I imagine this is going to free up Jeff Sessions to either work out in Utah or to testify or to something of that nature. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. A lot of people are saying that this is proof debunking QAnon, that nobody should trust QAnon at this point. I think a lot of people are either just they don't know, they're trying to read QAnon as a very one-dimensional thing, that trust Sessions meant that Sessions would be the Attorney General forever and ever, and that it would never look like Donald Trump didn't like him, and pretty much I really don't know what they assumed that meant, but I don't think his resignation / termination is indicative of a discrediting of QAnon or Jeff Sessions. You'll have to make the argument for that in the comments section. I'd like to have a conversation about that. I don't see how that's indicative of that. If Jeff Sessions was indicted, if Jeff Sessions had some slanderous information to come out about him, then maybe, probably I would concede to that, but I just don't see it at this point. So yeah, that's about it for right now. It'll be really interesting to see what happens here in the next few weeks, because we're coming up to January 1st, 2019. That's when the December 23rd, 2017 executive order goes into effect, and they'll be able to start freezing assets of people who have committed crimes against humanity. Very, very interesting document, very interesting executive order. We'll just have to see what happens, but at this time, I think the Republicans are in a good position. I think it's actually better that they didn't win the House. It gives the Democrats some room to show themselves a bit more. You know, they've gotten a little bit of power. Let's see what they'll do with it. I wonder if that'll change people's mind, or if they'll double down and they'll dig their heels in the sand and, you know, double on the insulting and the violence and the projection. It'll be very interesting. Tell me your predictions below. Like, comment, subscribe, and, you know, let's have a conversation about this. I'd love to hear from you.